The weight of a mother's struggle. The fluorescent lights of the grocery store flickered slightly, casting a dull glow over the rows of stocked shelves. Emily adjusted her grip on the handle of the metal shopping cart, her fingers tightening as she glanced at her 6-year-old daughter, Lily, who sat in the child seat humming softly to herself. Emily's heart felt heavy. She had carefully calculated every item in her cart, just the essentials. A gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, peanut butter, some apples, a box of cereal. Nothing extravagant, just enough to get through the next few days. But even as she mentally tallied up the prices, a knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. Would she have enough? She had lost her job 2 months ago. The restaurant where she had worked as a waitress had closed down unexpectedly, leaving her struggling to make ends meet. The bills kept coming. The rent was overdue, and despite her best efforts, she hadn't been able to find stable work. The food in their tiny apartment was running out, but she had promised Lily that they would have dinner tonight. As she approached the checkout line, she tried to swallow her fear. "It'll be fine. I have just enough. I think." The line moved slowly. Emily kept her head down, gripping her worn-out purse. Lily, blissfully unaware of her mother's stress, reached out her small hands and picked up a candy bar from the display. "Mommy, can we get this?" she asked with wide, hopeful eyes. Emily's heart clenched. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to give her daughter everything. But she forced a small smile and gently placed the candy bar back on the rack. "Not today, sweetie," she whispered. The cashier, a young woman with tired eyes, began scanning Emily's items. The register beeped, and the total climbed higher and higher. $22.47. Emily exhaled sharply, fumbling inside her purse. She pulled out a few crumpled bills and a handful of loose change. Her fingers trembled as she counted. She was short. $3.85 short. Panic rose in her throat. She could feel the impatient sighs of the customers behind her, the weight of their judgment. She started, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think I need to put something back." The cashier hesitated, clearly used to these moments, but still looking uncomfortable. Before Emily could decide which item to remove, a voice behind her interrupted. "I've got it." Emily turned, her breath catching in her throat. The store had been busy, and she hadn't paid attention to who was standing behind her. But now she was staring directly into the eyes of Taylor Swift. An unbelievable act of kindness. For a moment, Emily thought she was imagining things. Taylor Swift? Here? In a grocery store? Taylor, wearing a simple hoodie and jeans, smiled warmly. She had a soft kindness in her eyes, the kind that didn't come from cameras or fame. It was genuine. Emily stammered, shaking her head. "Oh, no. I can't." But Taylor had already stepped forward, pulling out her wallet. She handed a $50 bill to the cashier. "Keep the change," she said with a wink. The cashier's eyes widened, but she took the bill without a word and quickly finished the transaction. Emily stood frozen. Her hands gripped the shopping cart, her throat tight. "Why?" she managed to whisper. Taylor gave her a small smile. "Because I've been there. Maybe not exactly like this, but I know what it's like to need a little help. And trust me, you're doing an amazing job." Emily felt her chest tighten, overwhelmed with emotion. She hadn't cried in weeks. She had forced herself to stay strong for Lily. But now, standing in front of a global superstar who had just saved her from complete humiliation, the tears came fast and uncontrollably. Lily, unaware of the magnitude of the moment, giggled. "Mommy, isn't she that singer you like?" Taylor laughed, crouching slightly to meet Lily's gaze. "I am, But I think your mom is the real superstar here. Lily's face lit up. Mommy sings your songs in the car all the time. Taylor grinned. Then we have something in common. Emily wiped at her tears, still unable to process what had just happened. More than just a grocery bill. As they walked out of the store together, Taylor turned to Emily. Can I ask you something? Emily nodded, still too overwhelmed to speak. Are you okay? Taylor asked, her voice sincere. Emily hesitated before shaking her head slightly. Number, but I will be. Taylor nodded in understanding, then reached into her bag and pulled out a small piece of paper. She scribbled something on it and handed it to Emily. My team is always looking for hardworking people. If you ever need anything, a job, a connection, just someone to call, reach out. Emily's hands trembled as she took the note. Was this really happening? Taylor smiled. Just promise me one thing. Emily swallowed. What? Taylor knelt slightly to meet Lily's gaze again. That one day, when you're able to, you'll pass the kindness forward. Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. I will. I swear I will. Taylor gave her one last reassuring squeeze on the shoulder before heading toward the exit. As Emily stood there, still reeling from the encounter, she looked down at Lily, who was now happily munching on the candy bar Taylor had secretly bought for her. For the first time in months, Emily felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel. Hope. The ripple effect of kindness. The next day, Emily made a decision. She called the number Taylor had given her. Within a week, she had an interview. Within a month, she had a new job. Within a year, she was back on her feet. And years later, when Emily saw a struggling mother in the same grocery store, fumbling with loose change at the register, she stepped forward without hesitation. I've got it, she said, offering the same kindness that had once saved her. Because sometimes all it takes is one moment of generosity to change a life forever.